So I left you guys off with a finished blade without a handle, and I'm still trying to think of ideas exactly what I want to do for the handle. It's hidden tang. I've never done one of those before. Not exactly sure how it's going to go, but I've been kind of trying to round up materials to see what might look good. Not just a plain wooden handle. Not that I think there's anything wrong with a plain wooden handle, but I kind of wanted to spice it up a little more than that. Maybe aluminum guard. So anyways, look at the materials I've scrounged up so far. I got this chunk of aluminum. I don't even know what I used that for before. It's kind of dirty and nasty. But I cleaned up one side real good. The other side semi-okay. The side I cleaned up real good I covered with tape, because I figured that'll be the side facing the blade that'll be exposed. And the other side didn't have to be cleaned up as good, because that's going to get bonded to either a little piece of bone, or excuse me, antler, although this is really old antler and dried out. I don't know if you can see it on this camera, but this antler sat outside for about a good 5 years or so in the sun when I was a kid. But I kind of thought maybe using a piece of that. Definitely using the aluminum for a guard. I think this is mahogany or some sort of black walnut or something, an old table leg I found in the basement when we moved into this house. I may use this for the wood portion, and kind of spacers in between. You know, this may seem silly, but I'm kind of thinking of going with my old mud flap that fell off of that there truck. I don't know for sure. We'll see. I just thought I'd give you a little start here of the handle making process. So I've done a little bit of work, you know, not on camera, because I've been doing it slowly throughout the week as I'm trying to take care of other things. So I'm trying to, you know, finish on a design for this handle. I went ahead and fit this guard on here. It's got blue tape on it now because I polished the aluminum. Kind of made holes and got that all fit just perfect here. So that that's my guard. Then I'm going to have my index finger piece of wood. And then I'm going to have, I actually think I'm going to put black construction paper between these things as a just slight hint of a solid color. Curious how that will look in the final product. And you know, then a second aluminum piece to be in here. Alright, to kind of highlight where the index area stops and give it a little more contrast in the handle. Alright, this piece I'm not quite finished with yet, but I'm going to go ahead and slip this piece in the back. I've been burning it in closer and closer. I need to finish burning it so that it'll fit tight, or somewhat snug. I drilled a hole first that was just slightly smaller than the size of the tang for this part, since that's in the base and doesn't need to be as tight of a fit up. And you know, I'll show you the burn-in process. You don't want to ruin your temper, but geez, man, probably should have done this before I tempered it. Now, maybe that's enough. We'll see. Very slow cure epoxy. So I don't have any clamps big enough to keep pressure on this whole bit. So that's why I stuck it in the board while I was working on it. And that's why I've just turned it upside down with a big old piece of oak on top of it. And hopefully that'll be enough to keep that nice and tight while that epoxy sets. That's 2,000 pound slow cure epoxy. I can't even think of touching that for a minimum of 24 more hours. So we will revisit this tomorrow. Thanks. Okay, artistic break. Trying to plan what I'm going to do. So I'm getting it down quite a bit. You know, as you can see, I've removed quite a bit of material, starting to get a little rounder shape to it. I think I want to clean up this line right here, transition between blade and handle. I want that to be a little closer, not such a harsh transition. And I want to have the back end slope down a little bit to kind of counter the gentle curve of the slope up in the front. We'll see. I'm going to keep on keeping on. In there. I don't know. What do you think? Starting to look alright, huh? We are getting there. Hey guys, so this handle thing is getting dragged out over several days. Well, I do it little pieces at a time. I haven't always brought the camera with me, which I'm sorry about that. Sometimes I just get so busy with family stuff while I'm trying to work on things, I just don't have time for the camera. But so far, I spent a lot of time sanding this guy from 80 to 150 to 220 up to 500, and I did that for the whole thing. And then I polished the front part, the actual guard where it contacts the blade, which you'll see later because there was some epoxy on there I tried to get off. It didn't turn out quite as good as I wanted it to, but it's not terrible. So I finished it all up. I wiped it with boiled linseed oil, which I think actually looks really dang good. On top of that, I don't know if you can see it in this view, the black construction paper I used to go in and around that aluminum, I think looks pretty darn good. So I'll bring you back for the full knife and breakdown. Thanks. I am not that disappointed in this final product. I actually would really like to own this knife, which I do at the moment. I think I may give this to my stepfather. Close-up shot of the knife. Quick note about the qualities of the blade besides just the look. I realized that in video you can see that I made something that looks a certain way, but you can't necessarily see the functionality of it. So you know, since we last spoke, or since the last video rather, I was gifted a set of hardness testing files from Loon Knife Works in McDonough, New York. Anyhow, I happen to know now that this blade has an approximate Rockwell hardness of around 60. I also happen to have been sharpening knives long before I ever decided to make knives, so I think I already did a scenario, but just, you know, you tell me if this is a sharp knife. Looks pretty sharp to me. In case you're worried I'm going too fast and I'm tearing, see a slower cut. That is a very sharp knife. It's been a lot of work. Thanks for those of you who have watched the videos leading up to this one to see how much work actually went into a hand-forged Damascus blade. My first one, forged or completed Damascus. So I've learned a lot. I realize my videos aren't really how-to, but hopefully you've learned a few things too, just seeing what I've done and what mistakes that I've made. And there'll be more videos in the future. Stay tuned, folks. Rookie Bladesmith.